Something just happened behind closed doors that could shake global energy markets overnight. And most people have no idea how serious it really is. A warning has been delivered, and if it's ignored, the consequences could hit everything from gas prices in the US to the stability of entire nations. In the past few days, a message described by insiders as an ultimatum has started circulating across diplomatic channels. It centers around one of the most critical choke points in the world, the Strait of Hormuz. For decades, this narrow stretch of water has quietly controlled the flow of global nafta, with nearly a fifth of the world's supply passing through it daily. Any disruption here doesn't just stay regional, it echoes across the entire global economy. Now imagine a scenario where that flow is suddenly restricted, or even threatened. That's where things begin to escalate rapidly. Reports suggest that a hardline stance is forming, one that ties access to this route with broader geopolitical demands. The language being used is not soft diplomacy, it's direct, calculated pressure. The message is simple but powerful. Keep the passage open or face consequences targeting critical infrastructure. And when we say critical, we're talking about power plants, oil fields, and even water supply systems. This isn't just about oil anymore. It's about survival systems for entire countries. That's why analysts are calling this one of the most serious developments in recent months. Before we go deeper, if you want clear breakdowns of global events like this without the noise, make sure you hit subscribe now. It helps you stay ahead of stories that could impact your everyday life. Back to the situation. Why is the Strait of Hormuz so important? Because it acts like a valve for global energy, controlling the speed and volume of oil reaching international markets. Even a small disruption can spike oil prices instantly. And when oil prices rise, everything from transportation to food costs in the US starts climbing. Now consider the timing of this warning. Global tensions are already high, supply chains are fragile, and economies are still adjusting to past shocks. This makes the current situation even more volatile. A single miscalculation could trigger a chain reaction that's hard to stop. Some experts believe this ultimatum is meant as a deterrent, a way to prevent any interference with shipping routes. Others think it signals preparation for something much bigger. The real concern is how other global powers might respond, because once multiple nations get involved, the situation becomes far more complex. Military presence in the region has reportedly increased. Surveillance activity is up, and strategic positioning is being closely watched. These are usually early signs that something serious is unfolding behind the scenes. It doesn't always mean conflict is guaranteed, but it does mean readiness is being prioritized. For everyday Americans, this might seem distant at first, but the ripple effects can reach your wallet faster than you think. Gas prices, airline tickets, shipping costs, all tied to oil, can shift within days, and once they rise, they don't always come back down quickly. There's also a psychological factor at play. Markets react not just to actions, but to expectations. Even the threat of disruption can create panic buying, stock market swings, and economic uncertainty. That's why words like ultimatum carry so much weight. What makes this situation different is the specificity of the warning. It doesn't just hint at consequences, it outlines targets. Power plants mean electricity. Oil wells mean revenue. Water systems mean basic survival. Targeting these isn't just strategic, it's deeply impactful. It sends a message that goes beyond politics. Now, let's look at the broader picture. The Middle East has always been a region of high stakes, but recent shifts have made alliances more fluid. Old partnerships are being tested and new ones are forming. This creates an environment where decisions are less predictable. In such a setting, even a small spark can lead to larger consequences. That's why global leaders are watching closely. Behind the scenes, diplomatic efforts are likely in motion. Conversations that never make headlines are happening right now. The goal is simple: de-escalate before things spiral. But success isn't guaranteed. History shows us that misunderstandings can escalate quickly. And once escalation begins, it's hard to reverse. That's why this moment feels different. There's a sense of urgency that wasn't there before. For viewers like you, staying informed is more important than ever, because awareness is the first step in understanding impact. Let's break down what could happen next. Scenario 1. Tensions ease and the ultimatum leads to negotiations. This would stabilize markets and reduce immediate risks, but it would still leave underlying tensions unresolved. Scenario 2. Limited disruptions occur. Shipping slows down, prices rise, and uncertainty grows. This is where consumers start to feel the pinch. Gas stations adjust prices, and businesses pass costs along. Scenario 3, the most severe. Direct actions are taken against infrastructure. This would trigger a major global response. And at that point, we're no longer talking about warnings, we're talking about consequences. Now here's the key question. How likely is each scenario? Experts are divided. Some believe diplomacy will prevail. Others think the language used suggests something more serious. That's why updates matter, and that's why channels like this exist, to keep you informed without the noise. If you've made it this far, drop a comment below. Do you think the situation will escalate or cool down? Your perspective matters, and it helps shape the conversation. This keeps pressure on supply routes like Hormuz. Any disruption becomes even more impactful. There's also the role of technology. Surveillance, cyber capabilities, and advanced weapon systems all play a part. Modern conflicts don't always look like traditional ones. Sometimes they're silent but equally powerful. That's why infrastructure targeting is such a serious concern. It doesn't require large-scale deployment to have massive effects. Now, think about the economic side again. Investors watch these developments closely. Stock markets react quickly to uncertainty, and energy stocks are often the first to move. For the average viewer, this might translate into retirement account fluctuations. It's all connected. Another angle is political pressure. Leaders must respond not just strategically, but publicly. This can sometimes lead to stronger language or actions, and that can escalate situations further. That's why clarity matters in diplomacy. But clarity isn't always what we get. Sometimes messages are intentionally ambiguous. It leaves room for maneuvering, but also for confusion. In this case, the message seems anything but ambiguous. It's direct, targeted, and urgent. That's what makes it stand out, and that's why it's being taken seriously. Let's not forget the human side. People living in affected regions face uncertainty every day. Their access to electricity, water, and safety could be impacted. It's not just headlines, it's real life. This adds another layer to the situation. Decisions made at the top affect millions on the ground. As we move forward, keep an eye on official statements. They often hint at underlying developments. Also, watch market reactions. They can signal what experts are expecting, sometimes faster than news reports. Now, here's something interesting: energy reserves. Some countries have strategic surplus. These can be used to stabilize supply temporarily, but they're not a long-term solution. If disruptions last longer, the impact becomes unavoidable. That's when global coordination becomes necessary. Coordination isn't always easy. Different countries have different priorities, and that can slow down response efforts. Time becomes a critical factor. We're now at a point where every hour counts. Developments can shift rapidly. For viewers in the US, this might feel distant, but it's not disconnected. Global events shape domestic realities. From fuel prices to economic stability, the links are real, and they're immediate. As we approach the end, one thing is clear: this situation is far from resolved. It's evolving, and it demands attention. We'll continue to monitor this closely and bring you updates as they happen. Because in times like these, staying informed isn't optional, it's essential.